Okay, everyone. This lesson is all about joining wood and how we do that. We would going to take this lesson on into a practical, and then we would be making a wood joint to practice our skills with our tools. But for now, I'm going to learn the theory behind it. Okay. So obviously setting up our page, if we were doing that properly, but we might have a worksheet. So what products do you think use wood that have been joined together? That's the thing to start thinking about, is thinking about products that use this process. What way can you think of joining wood together? Because you'll have some knowledge that starts with that. So think about that while we begin, and then we can move on. These are your aims and objectives today. Take a minute to read through them. It allows you to work out why we're doing what we're doing and what we expect to know by the end. We're going to learn about the the two main methods of joining wood, the two categories, and we're going to learn a range of them within those categories. So we'll know different joining techniques, and we'll also know where we might use them, where we might not use them, and why we would do that, the pros and the cons for that. So products we make using wood joining techniques. We've got all sorts on the screen here, which you can add to your list. But your first task is to write down a list of products that that we can make by joining wood together. You might want to use internet or do a search around for that, or discuss with people around you what you might create using those. But there's some clues on that slide for you. Okay, so what ways can we join wood? So there's two main categories of joining wood. On the top row here, we've got traditional wood joints, which have been made for quite a long time, very traditional. And then we have the ones underneath, which are called mechanical fixings, where you can see the difference between them. So category number one, we're going to talk about traditional wood joints. Now, this method works by gluing two pieces of wood together. So you can simply just join two pieces together, or you can make them stronger by cutting interlocking sections that go together. So that will actually stop the wood from moving. So it slots together and it will stop it moving in one direction or multiple directions. So it actually holds it together by making it interlock. What it also does is it increases the amount of gluing area that you've got. So you could put lots and lots of PVA glue on that joint, but when you push it together and hold it together and wait for it to dry, all the extra glue squeezes out. So you only have the amount of glue that is on the surface area that touches. So if you cut out a section and you increase that gluing area, then that joint will be stronger. Okay, pros and cons for this method. They can look quite good and they can be incredibly strong. People don't think that PVA glue is very strong, but it is incredibly strong and it will hold those joints for a very, very long time, forever, in fact. And also what happens sometimes if you have a really good wood joint and you try and break it apart, the wood actually breaks before the joint does, and that's how effective and strong they can be. Disadvantages: they can take a long time to make, and they also take quite a high level of skill to do them properly, especially the more complex joints, like dovetail joints that you can see down there. Mechanical fixings. This is another category of joining things together, and this uses what we call standard components. So things like screws and nails and panel pins and nuts and bolts, and they're mass produced and they're standard. So they'll come in standard sizes, so you can just pick them off the shelf, go to the DIY shop, hardware store, and just get them all standard sizes, so you can design for those standard fittings to be used. So they're quite often used in furniture that is flat pack. They're used in things that you might put together yourself, like sheds and things that are more mass produced. So sometimes those fixings are used, they're quite different, those fixings, and they're useful in different ways. So sometimes if you're using nails and panel pins, for example, you need to use glue, because nails are not very effective at holding things together on their own. They're good to hold it together for a little bit, but if you put any major force on there, because there's no grip, there's no thread to hold that into the wood, it's actually very easy to remove them. So they're not actually that strong on their own. Quite often mechanical fixings are temporary, so you can remove them and dismantle products, so you can undo nuts and bolts and those things, so you can take them apart. They can be quite fast to use, so it's quite easy and fast to put in nails. Doesn't always take much skill. It's quite quick to put in screws sometimes and nuts and bolts. But some are very weak, as we said. Nails aren't very good, and some need to be used with glue. You need to sometimes like pre-drill holes to make sure everything's fitting properly. So you need to have actually also have access to those fittings as well. Whereas with traditional wood joints, you can just cut the wood and then it works. So your second task, what I'm going to ask you to do is you're going to state the two categories of the techniques and explain the differences between them. So what I've just been through, I want you to explain that yourself on the worksheet. And what I also want you to do is to give some example products where those techniques might be used. So you might use a traditional wood joint in a traditional, like in a chest of drawers, perhaps a handmade chest of drawers, or a chair, or a table, a kitchen table, farmhouse table. Mechanical fixings you might use in those, but you might find mechanical fixings somewhere else, like IKEA furniture, flat pack furniture, building sites where you're putting temporary hoardings up because you might want to take them apart afterwards. So have a think about what example products these techniques might be used in. Okay, task 3. So we need to now delve into specific types of technique within traditional wood joints. And if you go back to one of the previous slides, there's a whole range of them which are listed. What you need to do now is research them, go onto the internet, find some books relating to it if you need to, and you're going to sort of do a little kind of specification thing for it. So you're going to fill out the following information for them. Okay, so you're going to find 4 of them, which I've given you which ones I want you to try and do on the worksheet, and you are going to give me the name. You're going to give me an advantage, a disadvantage, and you're also going to find a label and label something on it. Find a diagram and label something on it. That's the idea. So I've done butt joints here. This is a really simple one, which is really easy to make, but it's quite weak because it doesn't actually link together at all. Once you've done that, your 4 examples of traditional wood joints, we can move on. Task 4 is very similar to task 3. We're going to delve into those specific mechanical fixings. So same thing, I need 4 different types, which I've given you which ones I want you to find, and you are going to write down the name. You're going to write down an advantage, a disadvantage, and a labeled diagram. So you should be able to find labeled diagrams of a lot of these components on the internet. Just copy and paste them in, read them, make sure you know what the bits are called. And then what also might be useful is some information. You might write it, you might copy and paste it from a diagram about how you might apply it, because some of them are quite different and they work in different ways. So this is obviously how a screw works. And for a screw to work effectively, you would need to drill different size holes for it to go into those pieces of wood, which is why screws can sometimes take longer. That's the information I need. Get it filled out, and then that is the end. Thank you.